Well, there's a question that I get asked a lot, and it's a question that I don't really have a good answer for because there's really no one good answer. And what I've been asked a lot is, how do I become a good maintenance supervisor, or how do I become a supervisor? Give me some tips on being a good maintenance supervisor. And honestly, it's really hard to really give an answer because it all depends on the property, the company, the kind of work you have, the age of the property, the size of the property. So there's a lot of factors into being a good maintenance supervisor, and a good maintenance supervisor in an old property that's 50 years old is going to be very different from a maintenance supervisor from a new property. I mean, either one should be able to do both, but there's more to it. There's more to advancing in that, so it's not as easy. But what I do have is some tricks on once you're a supervisor, or if you're thinking about becoming a supervisor, some tricks or some things that'll make you be not a bad supervisor, I guess, or make your job easier once you become a supervisor. Things that I've seen other supervisors and myself struggle with over time about being a supervisor, and the biggest issues that I found. Now, the number one, the biggest by far for me, is not being in line or working together with your manager and your office staff. And what I mean by this is, if your office staff gets in the habit of calling your techs, I need this done, I need that done, your manager calls one of your techs and tells them, I need you to go and clog this toilet, I need you to go fix this light bulb because this lady needs her light bulb. And if they're doing that, that's making the job for the supervisor really, really, really hard. It sounds like it's helping because the manager, somebody walked in the office, they were pissed off because, they have no hot water, and the manager calls a tech and tells them, or texts them, and there's an issue with hot water, go take care of it. It sounds like the manager's helping, but in reality, they are not helping at all. They're just making it much, much harder for the supervisor. What needs to be done, the only way, and this is also for property managers, the only way that I found that it works better or it works right is when the supervisor delegates the work to the techs. And I'll tell you why. Because if, let's say for an example, I'm working on an AC unit. This lady's at 80 years old and it's 110 degrees and I need to fix her AC unit. And then I get an emergency call because somebody's toilet is overflowing. Now, I call one of the techs because I'm up on the roof, and by the time I get there, it's gonna be much later, and I'm really busy, and I need to finish this. Now I call one of the techs and I tell him, you know what, man, I need you to go take care of this. And he'll tell me, well, there's a move-in for tomorrow, and the manager's got me doing these things on a turn, or I'm changing a light fixture. So sorry, I'm doing this. And as supervisor, I could tell him, you know what, I need you to do this, then you do that. But they could tell me, well, the manager wants me to do this. So I'm so sorry, you're gonna have to do it because the manager's above the supervisor. So, man, I'm sorry, I'm gonna change this light fixture. So you gotta get off that roof and you gotta go take care of this emergency because now the manager's involved and the manager told that person or that tech, I need this done. Which in reality, we know the biggest emergency was the toilet, the overflowing toilet. But the person has all the right to say, well, the manager sent me to do this and I'm going to do what the manager tells me before I do what you tell me. And then you call the other guy and say, well, the leasing agent, she called me, there's a person without hot water and I'm taking care of this right now, I'm sorry. And once I'm done, I'll go over there. And then it's chaotic because everybody has a say. Everybody's emergency is different. The leasing agent, she gets a call from a complaint and she thinks that's an emergency and she texts one of the guys and that's an emergency for her. While the other person, the assistant manager got another emergency, she texted the guy, and all of a sudden, there's no control. The supervisor ends up doing all these emergency jobs. So that's the number one thing is you have to get your office and your staff to agree that they're going to tell you what to do and you're going to delegate the work. That's the only way this works. And honestly, after years and years of working in this and dealing with supervisors, I've noticed the problem is always going to be when the office staff and the manager are telling the techs what to do. Never let that happen. That's going to complicate your life. It's going to make it much, much harder. It's not that the supervisor is always right, but there can only be one person delegating the work. If everybody's delegating the work, then nothing really gets done. There's no coordination. Everybody has their own emergency, and there's no communication, and everybody's doing whatever they're doing. And that's the number one thing I'll say is make sure the supervisor and the manager are in it as an agreement that they will always call you, tell you, and then you'll delegate the work. That's the only way it's going to work properly. Another tip I'll give you guys, and like I said, these are not tips as how to be a good supervisor. These are basically tips of how to make your life easier as a supervisor. Always make sure there's a work order for everything. You know, people get in the habit of texting, I got a water leak over here, I got an emergency out there, and the tenant told me this, and and then you're getting all these messages all day long, and you're running back and forth. You may not be walking in the office. Not all companies have apps where they have the work orders. Then you end up spending a whole bunch of time doing these jobs that are not really work orders. Of course, my phone always has to ring when I'm in the middle of a video. So make sure there's always a work order. I always tell the staff when they call me or they text me, I need this done. I always tell them, did you put the work order? Is a work order in? Do the work order, then we'll do it. Everything has to be logged, and that there has to be some accountability for your time. If you're doing a lot of things without work orders, and I've seen this a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot. When they get rid of a supervisor, and if you've been a supervisor and you've been in a company and then you know this, they'll say, well, yeah, we got rid of him. He wasn't really doing much. Well, it's not that he wasn't doing much. He wasn't doing much on paper because there was no record of what he was doing. You had him doing this, that, and the other. Of course, once you send the text, there's a water leak in so-and-so apartment, and I need you to go take care of it. Well, the water leak's behind the wall. You have to open up the wall. You have to, make some trips, and then it may take you a day and a half. Well, if there wasn't a work order for that, and the guy's already doing it, and usually it's going to be the supervisor doing that job, well, they're going to say, what did he do for the last 2 days? There's no record of it. He fixed a little leak. That's it. Well, it wasn't a little leak. It was a little leak now because when you texted it, it wasn't a big deal. So even as a supervisor, make sure there's always a work order, because everything you do is going to consume time, and usually you're going to end up doing the special projects, the harder projects that are going to consume time. So you got to make sure that there's a work order for that. And I always tell them in the office, they always send me a text, and my question is, did you put the work order in? Because it's really important. Otherwise, one day you'll be gone from that company, and I've heard it a million times, and they're going to say, well, the guy wasn't really doing much. Not on paper, but he was always busy. So make sure there's always a work order. And I think these are 2 tips that they're gonna make your life much, much easier as a supervisor. There's different types of supervisors, I'll tell you. I consider there's 2 different major types of supervisors. There's a type that knows how to do everything, and you guys met that guy that's out there at 8, 9 p.m. He's fixing all the leaks, he's taking care of everything. That supervisor, he's always working, and he's in the work, he's buried in the work all the time, and he's the first one there, the last one to leave. That's one kind. There's another kind of supervisor that's a kind that it doesn't really know what he's doing, but he knows how to delegate work. He knows, I'm going to use this guy over there, that guy over there, I'm going to use this vendor over here, and he has everything organized. I think they're both 2 types of supervisor, and neither one's right or wrong. They're just different. They both get things done. You don't have to be the most knowledgeable guy to be the supervisor. You just have to know how to delegate and organize people. So there's 2 types. If you're the guy that doesn't know everything, you still have to learn a lot, but you can still be a supervisor. Still, if you can delegate work, if you could line up people, you can still be a supervisor. I myself would rather be the supervisor that knows how to do, the work, but it doesn't mean that's the only kind of supervisor. Like I said, there's 2 kinds. If you're going to become a supervisor, being in line with your office to where everything goes through you is going to be the easiest thing to do. Hey, I'll see you guys in the next video.